From a young age, Marcella would escape into fantastical worlds where magic was normality and heroes triumphed and love conquered all. It was her way of escaping the bleak reality that surrounded her. She was the youngest of 3 siblings and raised by a single father who always seemed to be down on his luck. Marcella never knew her mother, as she passed away when she was only 2 years old. Her father did his best to provide for his family by working 2 jobs, but when ends barely met, he fell deep into a gambling addiction, which led the family into undesirable circumstances. Aside from his gambling flaw, Marcella's father was quite the ladies' man, so it wasn't hard for him to land a rich divorcee who later became Marcella's stepmother. It was clear that the new wife wasn't mother material, but she tolerated the children because she was crazy about their father. Having a mother figure for his children and a chance to experience the good life blinded Marcella's father's perception of how his wife really felt about his children. But a few short years after marrying, Marcella's father fell ill and passed away. The stepmother wanted nothing to do with Marcella or her siblings, so she fled the country, which led Marcella and her 2 brothers and 1 sister into foster care. The harshness of life pulled Marcella away from her solace of reading, as she had to focus on survival. Now, in her 30s, she still carries the burden of survival mode, working as a waitress by day in a popular restaurant and as a customer service rep part-time, which barely gives her any chance at having a social life. It's Marcella's day off and she is cleaning her modest flat. She dusts off the towering bookshelf filled with hundreds of books she has yet to read. She pauses midway and lets out a sigh of exasperation, realizing that the books are now merely serving as decoration. Her passion for reading has been dormant since childhood, but for some reason, Marcella is obsessed with buying books. After cleaning her flat, Marcella decides to take a walk to the coffee shop 2 blocks from her house. On her way, she noticed a new bookstore opened across the street. She found it odd that in the 3 years she'd been living in that neighborhood, that she never even noticed there was a store being built. Naturally, a spark of curiosity lit up inside her, and she quickly crossed the street to check it out. As Marcella entered the store, a soft bell chime rang, and the smell of fresh wood and paint filled the air. It was a charming space with a seating area by a window, dressed with hanging plants. As Marcella browsed the fictional section, she heard a thud which sounded like something fell. She turned around and noticed that a book had fallen on the ground. She bent down to pick it up, noticing there was no title or inscription in the book, and it looked old and had been used quite a bit. To see this type of book in the new store intrigued Marcella. As she thumbed through the pages, she noticed that there was no title, intro, epilogue, author, or even a publishing company. Marcella thought of putting the book back and just going on about her business, but she was more compelled to ask the clerk what the book was. She approached the clerk. "Excuse me, do you know the title of this book? I found it in the fictional section." The clerk smiled politely and asked to see the book. Marcella handed the book over to the clerk, and he examined it with a perplexed look on his face. I don't believe I've seen this book before. Let me check our database," the man said. He began a search on the computer, but couldn't find anything. Then he concluded, someone must have left it here by accident. Just then, the store phone rang. The clerk excused himself as he turned his back to answer the phone. Without thinking twice, Marcella tucked the book under her coat and hurriedly walked out of the store. She had no idea what drove her to do that. Drunk with adrenaline, Marcella dashed straight home, forgetting all about her afternoon coffee. When she got to her flat, without hesitation, she sat down at the kitchen table and opened to the first page of the book. She read the first line. It read, "Amelia lived in a cozy apartment filled with books that collected dust." Marcella's blood rushed as she read the line. It was as if the words were plucked straight from her life. She read the next line, which stated, "After cleaning her apartment, Amelia decided to grab a coffee around the corner. On the way, she spots this new bookstore across the street." Marcella paused, thinking it was all some kind of coincidence. But then as she read more, she found details that were eerily accurate. The description of her favorite reading book, the fluffy orange cat lounging on the sofa, and even the scent of fresh pine saw wafting through the air were all there. Marcella's heart raced. She put the book down and glanced around her apartment, as if to find a clue that it was all a prank. Compelled with burning curiosity, Marcella continued to read, when suddenly the words on the page shifted, detailing Amelia's plans for the day. a lunch date with her best friend. Marcella was startled by the accuracy, as she did have plans to meet her friend for lunch. This freaked her out, so she just closed the book. She glanced at the clock and noticed that she had to get ready to meet her friend Stacy for lunch. As Marcella was getting ready, she tried to collect herself as if everything was normal, but what she experienced was far from normal, and it was eating away at her. It was that moment she decided she was going to get rid of the book. As time approached, she put in a call for an Uber ride to take her to the lunch date. Moments later, Marcella's car arrived. She gathered her essentials ready to leave. Just before leaving her flat, she remembered to grab the book she put on the console, then left to meet her friend. On the way, all Marcella could think about was what she read in that black book. Minutes later, the Uber car stopped in front of the cafe. Marcella thanked the driver for the ride, then got out. With the black book tucked under her arm, she remembered her plan, walked over to the trash bin on the corner, and threw the book away without a second thought. Marcella entered the cafe and saw her friend Stacy seated by the storefront window. The close friends greeted each other with hugs, then sat down. As they got settled, Stacy asked, "Why did you throw that book away?" The question caught Marcella off guard, as she wasn't ready to share her experience just yet. "Oh, you saw that? It was just a book I bought off impulse. It's total trash. I wasted like $15, Marcella said. Her friend shrugged it off and then picked up a menu. "Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, I ran into Ray Wilson from college," Stacy blurted with excitement. As her friend went on sharing her encounter, Marcella couldn't shake the feeling of déjà vu. Stacy continued on with a funny story from their college days. It was almost verbatim as to what she had just read in that black book. Marcella tried to brush it off, but the unsettling sensation lingered. She tried to engage organically to what her friend was saying, but Stacy could tell something was off. So she inquired, "Are you okay? You seem a little distracted or something." Marcella put on her best act. "Everything's fine. I was just trying to remember if I fed Bernie before I left." "Aw, I just love that little cat. He's such a protector," Stacy said. "Anyway, let's order, 'cause I am starving." Marcella and Stacy went on and enjoyed the rest of their lunch, filled with stories from the past, ex-boyfriends, and future plans. Hours later, Marcella decided to walk home. On her route, she glanced over to see if that new bookstore was open. As she approached the location, all she saw was a brick building with graffiti on the wall. There was no sign of a bookstore at all. Marcella was dumbfounded and immediately thought she must have taken a different route. But there was no mistaking that the store she visited earlier that day was gone. Feelings of anxiousness, confusion, and fear fled through Marcella's veins as she dashed home to find solace. Soon as Marcella entered her flat, she triple-locked her door. She rested against her door, trying to catch her breath, trying to make sense of everything. Marcella decided to take a shower in hopes to wash away all the weird energy she encountered. After her shower, she changed clothes and made herself comfortable on the couch and cuddled her cat Bernie. The sound of his purr put her mind at ease. She thought maybe all of it was a dream, the bookstore, the book, when suddenly Bernie let out a hiss as he was looking towards the kitchen window. Marcella was puzzled by his sudden behavior. "What is it, Bernie?" Her cat's consistent glare towards the kitchen window provoked Marcella to get up and investigate. The window was slightly cracked, letting in cold air, so she closed it, feeling more relieved as she didn't see anything peculiar outside her window. But the moment Marcella turned around, she saw the black book sitting on her coffee table.